I always thought the city was too loud for secrets. The constant hum of traffic, the sirens, the neighbors' televisions bleeding through the walls. Noise everywhere, all the time. But I learned that secrets thrive in noise. They hide in plain sight, behind drawn curtains and half-closed blinds. In the flicker of a lamp at midnight. That's how I first noticed her, years ago, through the window across the alley. She was ordinary at first glance. Brown hair, always tied back, glasses. She wore the same blue robe every morning when she made coffee. I watched her routine from my kitchen, pretending to read the news on my phone while my eyes traced her movements. She never saw me, or maybe she did, but she never let on. That was part of the game. I started to learn her schedule. She left for work at 8:15, always with a travel mug in her right hand and a tote bag slung over her shoulder. She returned at 6:30, sometimes later if it rained. She watered her plants on Thursdays, did laundry on Sundays, called her mother every other Friday. I knew these things the way you know the shape of your own hands. It wasn't long before I realized she was lonely. I could see it in the way she lingered at the window staring out at the city lights, her face reflected in the glass. She scrolled through her phone, swiping left and right, but never seemed satisfied. Sometimes she laughed at something on the screen, but the sound never reached me. I imagined what it would be like to make her laugh in person. I wanted to help her. That's what I told myself. She needed someone to look out for her, someone who understood her better than the strangers she met online. I started small. I created a profile on the same dating app she used, just to see what kind of men she was talking to. Most of them were idiots, posing with fish, or flexing in gym mirrors. I made sure to report the worst ones, flagging their profiles until they disappeared. I thought she'd thank me if she knew. One night I saw her bring a man home. He was tall, with a beard and a loud laugh that echoed through the alley. I watched them through the window as they drank wine and talked. I felt something twist inside me, something sharp and cold. I waited until he left, then went online and found his social media. It wasn't hard. She'd tagged him in a photo. I sent him a message, pretending to be someone else, warning him that she was unstable, dangerous. He never came back. She looked sad for a few days after that, but I knew it was for the best. She deserved better. She deserved someone who really cared. I started leaving little gifts at her door. Nothing too obvious. A book I'd seen her reading at the cafe, a scarf in her favorite color, a box of her favorite tea. I never signed my name. I wanted her to feel cared for, to know that someone was thinking of her. She seemed puzzled at first, but then she started smiling more. I watched her open the packages, her eyes lighting up. It made me feel close to her, like we shared a secret. But she still kept looking for someone else. More dates, more strangers. I watched them come and go, each one more disappointing than the last. I started to get creative. I hacked into her dating profile, changed her preferences, deleted messages from men I didn't like. I set her up with people who would never show up, just to see her come home early, alone. I thought she'd eventually realize that none of them were right for her. Sometimes late at night, I'd see her crying at the window. I wanted to go to her, to tell her everything, but I knew she wasn't ready. Not yet. She needed to understand that I was the only one who truly saw her. Then, one morning, everything changed. I woke up and her window was dark. No coffee, no blue robe, no movement at all. I waited, thinking maybe she'd overslept, but the hours passed and the apartment stayed empty. That night, the lights never came on. The next day, the same. I watched for any sign, shadows, footsteps, the flicker of a phone screen, but there was nothing. It was as if she'd vanished. I checked the hallway, her door, the mailbox, no packages, no notes, no sign of life. I tried to find her online, but her profiles were gone. Deleted, wiped clean. I searched for her name, her friends, her family, but it was like she'd erased herself from the world. At first I was angry. How could she leave without telling me? After everything I'd done for her, all the ways I'd tried to help? But then I realized this was a test. She wanted me to find her, to prove how much I cared. She was waiting for me, somewhere out there, hoping I'd come for her. I started to plan. I made a list of all the places she might go. Her mother's house, her old college, the cities she'd mentioned in passing. I checked bus schedules, train tickets, rental car agencies. I watched the news for any mention of a missing woman, but there was nothing. She was careful, I had to give her that. The apartment across the alley stayed empty. Sometimes, late at night, I'd stand at my window and stare at the darkness, imagining her on the other side, waiting for me. I knew she missed me, even if she didn't realize it yet. I could feel it, like a thread pulling me forward. I started to dream about her. In my dreams, she called out to me, her voice echoing through empty rooms. She was lost, afraid, but I always found her. I always brought her home. I knew I couldn't stay here forever. The city felt smaller without her, the noise less comforting. I packed a bag, just the essentials, my laptop, a change of clothes, the photos I'd taken of her over the years. I left the rest behind. I didn't need anything else. Before I left, I stood at the window one last time, looking out at the empty apartment. I wondered if she was watching me, somewhere out there, waiting for me to make the first move. I smiled, knowing that our story wasn't over. Not yet. I locked the door behind me and stepped into the night, the city humming around me, full of secrets. I knew I'd find her. I always did. The first days on the road felt like a puzzle I was born to solve. I retraced her digital footprints, piecing together fragments she'd left behind, an old post about a favorite diner in another state, a tagged photo from a college reunion, a comment on a friend's page. I mapped out every possibility, every city she might have chosen for her new beginning. I was methodical, patient. I knew her patterns better than she did. Motels blurred together, the hum of vending machines, the flicker of neon, the thin walls that let in the sounds of strangers. I watched people come and go, always searching for a glimpse of her. Her walk, her laugh, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear. Sometimes I thought I saw her in a crowd, just for a second, but it was always someone else. Still, I didn't lose hope. She was out there somewhere, waiting for me to find her. I kept notes in a small black notebook, recording every possible lead. I called old numbers from payphones, sent anonymous messages to her friends, watched for any sign that she'd reached out to someone. I even visited her mother's house, parking across the street for hours. But there was no sign of her. The world felt emptier without her in it, but I knew that emptiness was temporary. I was getting closer. Sometimes late at night, I'd sit in my car and imagine her life without me. Did she feel safer or more alone? Did she miss the gifts, the little surprises, the sense that someone was always looking out for her? I wondered if she'd started to forget me, or if she checked over her shoulder, hoping to see a familiar face in the crowd. I like to think she did. The search became my life. I stopped caring about work, about bills, about the things that used to fill my days. None of it mattered anymore. All that mattered was the connection we shared, the invisible thread that tied us together, no matter how far she ran. I knew she'd understand eventually. She just needed time. One evening, as I sat in a diner off the highway, I saw a woman at the counter who looked almost like her. My heart pounded as I watched her pay for her coffee, her hands trembling just a little. I followed her outside, keeping my distance. But when she turned, her face was wrong, too young, too uncertain. I let her go, disappointment settling in my chest like a stone. But I didn't give up. I couldn't. Days turned into weeks, then months. The world changed around me, seasons shifted, people came and went. But my purpose stayed the same. I became a shadow, moving from place to place, always searching, always waiting for a sign. Sometimes I wondered if she was doing the same, looking for me in every unfamiliar face, every passing car. The thought comforted me. I started to notice things, news stories about women who disappeared, rumors of stalkers in quiet neighborhoods, whispers of fear in the places I passed through. I knew people talked, that they didn't understand what it meant to care for someone the way I did. They called it obsession, but they were wrong. It was devotion. It was love. Eventually, I realized I might never find her. She was clever, resourceful, always one step ahead. But that didn't mean our story was over. Not by a long shot. I still had her photo, her scent on the scarf I'd kept, the memory of her voice in my ears. I carried those things with me, reminders of what we'd shared, of what was still possible. Sometimes, when the night was quiet and the world felt empty, I'd close my eyes and imagine her standing at a window somewhere, looking out into the darkness, wondering if I was still watching. I wanted her to know that I was, that I always would be. I never went back to my old apartment. There was nothing left for me there. The city had become just another place on the map, another stop on the way to wherever she was hiding. I moved forward, always forward, driven by the certainty that our paths would cross again. And if she moved again, if she changed her name, if she tried to disappear completely, it wouldn't matter. I'd find her. I always did. The world is full of noise, but secrets still thrive in the quiet spaces between. I know how to listen. I know how to wait. Our story isn't over. Not yet.